Naughty Kids Land!
Hey, mamas and little ones. Tonight, let's settle in for something magical. The air is quiet and soft, like velvet wrapped around your shoulders, and the night sky has dressed itself in silver. The fairy moon is round and glowing, the kind of moon that seems to wink at you when you look too long. You can almost hear the hush of crickets as they pause, waiting for you to step onto a path lit only by starlight and dreams. The kind of path you probably wouldn't make it through if you were wearing squeaky shoes. They'd give you away immediately. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if this story brings you peace, share it with friends. And when you do, let them know your location and what time it is for you. It's always so beautiful to see how this circle of cozy listeners stretches across the whole world. And now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You walk beneath the very moon, and it feels as though the ground itself has softened, welcoming each step. The grass bends gently, like it knows you are about to discover something wondrous. Up ahead, a hill rises, dotted with glowing mushrooms that blink on and off, as though they are politely greeting you. Each time one lights up, it makes you wonder if it's laughing quietly, or perhaps trying to show you the way. You crest the hill, and there it is. Unicorn Academy. It doesn't look like an ordinary school. No bricks, no chimneys, no playground squeaks. Instead, it looks like the forest itself decided to gather into graceful arches and tall, whispering towers. The walls are made of woven vines with blossoms blooming from every seam, and the roofs shine as though painted with liquid moonlight. You hear the faint sound of bells, not the kind that demand you hurry, but the kind that sound more like giggles in the air. As you draw closer, your nose catches the scent of honey and clover, with just the faintest hint of fresh bread, warm from some hidden oven. Your stomach does a little dance because, of course, the smell of fresh bread always wins. A soft breeze lifts your hair and carries the giggles of unseen fairies who dart past you like ribbons of light. They don't stop. You get the feeling they're in a hurry to tell someone that you've arrived. You pause at a gate that isn't really a gate at all. It's a gentle archway made of crystal branches that lean toward each other. When you step through, your heart tingles. It's as if the gate is checking in, saying, "Yes, you belong here." Inside the academy grounds, everything feels alive. Trees sway without wind. Flowers lift their faces towards you like polite little hosts. A small brook runs across the courtyard, not babbling noisily, but humming something that sounds suspiciously like a lullaby you once heard. The water even pauses now and then, as if waiting for you to hum along. Ahead, students move about, though they don't quite look like the kind of students you'd see at an ordinary school. Some carry baskets of rainbow-colored apples. Others balance teacups on books that float gently in front of them. A few are sitting cross-legged in the grass, speaking softly to unicorns who gaze back with patience in their enormous star-flecked eyes. You realize that here, at Unicorn Academy, lessons aren't about chalk and blackboards. They're about listening, feeling, and opening your heart until the world responds. The fairy moon above glows brighter, casting a soft path of silver through the courtyard. Your feet feel guided toward it. You follow, and as you do, you notice little sparkles of light rise up from the grass. Fireflies? No, too slow. These sparks seem to wait for you, hovering at your ankles before drifting upward, making you look like you're walking in a gown stitched with stars. You arrive at the Great Hall, though calling it a hall feels almost funny. It's more like a grand open clearing with archways of willow trees woven into circles. The ground is polished stone, but it doesn't feel cold. It feels like stepping on warm sunlight that somehow got trapped and never left. At the center is a tall fountain shaped like a unicorn rearing upward. Water pours from its horn in a steady stream that somehow turns into tiny glowing butterflies before it ever touches the ground. They flutter away, landing on shoulders and hair, never frightening anyone, just settling in like little glowing bows. A gentle laugh brushes your ear. You turn and see an older fairy, her wings glimmering with threads of pale silver. She doesn't speak at first, just studies you with kind eyes that make you feel as if she already knows every dream you've ever had. Then she nods, almost to herself, and says in a voice softer than clouds, "You came just in time. The fairy moon waits for no one, but it always shines brighter when new hearts arrive." Your cheeks warm. You aren't sure how to reply, so you simply smile. She gestures toward the fountain, and you walk with her. The air feels cooler here, like the moon's glow is spilling over the edge of the sky and trickling down just for this place. She leans closer. "Do you hear them?" she asks. At first, you don't. Just the hum of the brook, the faint chime of bells, the whisper of leaves. But then, yes, faint, far off, but real. A sound like hooves echoing in the distance, though lighter, like silver cups tapping against crystal. "They're waiting," she says, "and tonight you will meet one." Your heart skips. You, meeting a unicorn? You nod, perhaps a little too eagerly, and she chuckles, patting your arm. "Come, child of moonlight, the academy is waking to greet you." And so, under the fairy moon, you take your first true step into Unicorn Academy. The courtyard seems to shift slightly, the way a dream sometimes rearranges itself. The trees grow taller, the archways wider, and ahead a pathway unfurls like a ribbon. You step onto it, and it feels like walking across a gentle sigh. The air thickens with the scent of roses and wild mint, and somewhere in the distance, a laugh carries. A laugh so kind and clear that you can't help but smile back, even though you haven't met the voice yet. As you walk, your mind drifts with gentle questions. What will the unicorns be like? Do they really shimmer, or do they only appear that way in moonlight? Will they speak, or will their eyes tell stories without words? The questions curl around you like curious kittens, playful and harmless, reminding you that this is not just a school. It is a place of wonder, and you are part of its story now. The fairy moon leans lower, casting your shadow long and silver, as though even the moon itself wants to walk beside you. And maybe, just maybe, it does. You follow the ribbon-like path that stretches before you, the moonlight tracing your every step. The older fairy who greeted you has already disappeared, though you don't feel abandoned. In her place, the forest seems to lean closer, as though trees themselves have taken up the task of guiding you. Their leaves shimmer faintly, painted with silver dust, and every so often, one falls to the ground, landing softly at your feet. When you stoop to pick it up, it dissolves into a twinkle, leaving nothing behind but the scent of rain on stone. The air feels different here, fuller, as though secrets are floating in it. You pause, tilt your head, and realize you can hear a murmur. Not quite a voice, but not entirely the wind either. It sounds like the forest is whispering, telling tales to itself. If you listen carefully, the words begin to take shape. Long ago, before the first unicorn took its breath, there was only silence. The forest sighs, and into that silence came the fairy moon. She spilled her light upon the ground, and from that light grew seeds, and from those seeds came dreams. You walk slowly, afraid that rushing might cause the whispers to vanish. The forest continues. Dreams sprouted as flowers, and when the wind brushed their petals, the first unicorns were born, glowing with the colors of hope. They gathered here, where moonlight was strongest, and so the academy was built, not with stone, but with promise. You smile. It makes sense somehow. Of course, a school for unicorns would grow from promises and dreams rather than bricks. And though you don't say a word, the forest seems to hear your thoughts. A ripple of laughter passes through the trees, 1,000 leaves shaking softly, like applause. You step deeper into the woods, and the air becomes cooler, quieter. Fireflies hover in careful spirals around your path, not to distract, but to guide. Their glow doesn't flicker chaotically. Instead, it pulses in rhythm with your heartbeat. It feels as though the entire forest knows you're here, and it wants to welcome you gently, carefully, like a host laying out cushions and blankets before asking you to sit. Head, you notice a cluster of smaller trees forming a circle. They lean so close together, their branches braid at the top, making a kind of natural dome. From within, a golden glow spills out, brighter than the moonlight but still tender on the eyes. Drawn forward, you step through the branches and into the heart of the grove. Inside, fairies are gathered, tiny, delicate, each no larger than your palm. Their wings shimmer in colors that change as they move. One moment green, the next pink, then a sudden wash of gold. They sit on mushrooms, petals, and the backs of beetles who hum low. Content tunes. A hush falls when you arrive, but not an unfriendly one. It's the kind of silence you might find when a room full of friends pauses to welcome someone new. One fairy flutters closer. Her hair sparkles as though dusted with frost, and her eyes are as deep as wells of ink. She tilts her head and speaks, her voice ringing like the faint chime of silver cutlery. You hear the whispers, don't you? You nod. She smiles knowingly. That means you belong here. Not all can hear the history of this place. Some only feel it as a shiver or a dream forgotten in the morning. But you, she taps your chest gently, right where your heart beats. You carry the right kind of listening. The fairies around her murmur in agreement, their voices rising and falling like a tiny chorus. One pipes up, "Shall we tell her the story of the moon's promise?" Another laughs, "Oh, yes, but not all at once. Too much history can make one's head spin faster than a pixie trying to juggle walnuts." You chuckle softly, because you can imagine that. A pixie juggling walnuts, tumbling over in the attempt, walnut shells scattering like clumsy applause. The fairies laugh too, as if they sent you that image on purpose. Then the first fairy begins. The fairy moon made a promise long ago. She said, "Wherever my light falls, kindness shall grow." And so it has. Every unicorn born under her glow carries kindness in its breath, its mane, its very steps. That is why this academy is sacred, because here, every lesson is one of gentleness, of listening, of learning to see the world as a friend rather than a foe. The words sink into you like warm tea on a cool night. You feel your shoulders relax, your heartbeat slow. You hadn't realized how much tension you carried until now, when it slips away. Another fairy, perched on a dandelion, adds her voice. We guard the academy, whispering its story so no one forgets. Children come, yes, and unicorns too. But without remembering the promise, the light could fade. That is why we tell it to anyone who listens. And just then, the grove itself seems to join in. The branches overhead creak softly, like an elder clearing its throat. The mushrooms glow brighter, releasing a faint, soothing hum. Even the ground feels as though it sighs, relieved that you are here. Hearing, remembering. The fairies smile, pleased. They clap their hands, though their claps sound more like drops of water falling into a clear pool. And suddenly, the golden glow around the grove deepens. Shapes shimmer into view along the walls of bark and leaf. They are pictures, painted not with pigment, but with light itself. You see unicorns running, their hooves scattering sparks that bloom into flowers. You see students holding lanterns high, their faces calm and proud. You see the fairy moon watching, always watching, her light curved protectively around them all. The images swirl and shift, then fade, leaving only the gentle glow of the fairies themselves. The first fairy tilts her head again, her voice hushed but steady. Now you know. The academy is not just a school. It is a promise kept, night after night, moon after moon. And now, you are part of that promise. You breathe deeply. Something inside you feels different now, as if a door has opened in your chest, and behind it lies a garden you never knew existed. You don't speak, but you don't need to. The fairies see your understanding in your eyes. One of them flutters closer and places a tiny blossom in your hand. It's no bigger than a coin, pale blue with a golden center. Keep this, she says. It will glow when you need reminding. And when it glows, remember, kindness grows wherever moonlight touches. You close your fingers gently around the flower, and it feels warm, as though it's alive. Maybe it is. At Unicorn Academy, nothing ordinary stays ordinary for long. When you step out of the grove again, the night feels different. The whispers of the forest are quieter now, like a lullaby being sung from far away. But the weight of their story rests gently in your heart. The path before you stretches on, shimmering with moonlight, and you know your journey here is only just beginning. And somewhere, not far ahead, you hear the soft wicker of a unicorn waiting. The sound reaches you first. A low, patient nicker that seems to ripple through the air like a pebble dropped in a still pond. It's gentle, curious, and oddly sounds as though it's waiting for you to answer. Your breath catches in your throat, and without quite realizing it, your feet quicken on the moonlit path. The night is calm, but inside you, a small storm of excitement is brewing. The path bends, slipping between two tall trees whose trunks arch toward each other like an embrace. Beyond them lies something you can only describe as a lantern-lit dream. A wide meadow stretches out, soft grass waving like green velvet, and at its far edge rises a building that seems half stable, half palace. Its walls are carved from pale stone threaded with ivy, and warm candlelight glows from within. The roof curves upward into turrets, each one capped with crystal domes that catch the moonlight and scatter it like spilled sugar. You step closer. The air changes again, richer now, filled with the sweet musk of hay, the earthy comfort of wood shavings, and the faintest whiff of peppermint. Your nose twitches, surprised but delighted. Peppermint? A stable that smells like peppermint can only mean one thing. The unicorns are near. The great doors stand open, tall and arched, carved with vines and flowers that almost seem to shift as you pass beneath them. Inside, the light softens, glowing amber from lanterns suspended in the air without hooks or chains. They float gently, bobbing like sleepy fireflies. Each one seems to take notice of you, tilting its glow as if to say, "Ah, here you are." And then you see them. Rows of stalls line the wide aisle, but these are no ordinary stalls. Each one is carved from polished wood and inlaid with stones that glitter faintly. Amethyst, moonstone, lapis lazuli. Curtains of ivy hang between them instead of solid walls, giving the unicorns freedom to see one another, to nod, to share glances like neighbors chatting over garden fences. The air hums with a sense of quiet community, as though this stable isn't a place of confinement at all, but of belonging. The unicorns themselves are breathtaking. One turns its head toward you, its mane falling like a silver waterfall that shimmers even in the dimmest light. Another shifts its hooves, and sparks of gold scatter across the straw, fading slowly into nothing, as though they're shy about being noticed. Some unicorns have horns straight as lances, glowing faintly like candles in glass. Others have horns that twist gently, humming with a song you can almost hear if you lean close enough. Your eyes catch on one unicorn whose coat is the color of midnight. But when it moves, stars seem to ripple across its flank, constellations reshaping themselves with every breath. You gasp softly, and the unicorn flicks its ears toward you, almost amused at your wonder. Beautiful, aren't they? A voice murmurs nearby. You turn, and see a stable keeper. She's tall, her hair braided with wildflowers that never seem to wilt, and her hands are dusted faintly with something like glitter. Her smile is calm, the kind that makes you think she knows all the unicorn's secrets, but will never spoil them. You nod, unable to find words. She chuckles. First-time visitors often forget how to speak. Don't worry, it happens to the best of us. Come, walk slowly. Let them see you. Unicorns notice more than eyes and footsteps. They notice hearts. Her words are simple, but they land in your chest like a stone sinking into water. You walk forward, careful, your steps muffled by straw that seems far too clean to belong to any stable. The unicorns watch you, some curious, some indifferent, but none unfriendly. It feels a bit like walking into a room where everyone already knows one another, and you're the guest of honor. Except instead of people whispering, there are soft nickers, and the occasional sound of hooves pawing the straw. As you pass one stall, a unicorn leans forward. Its nose brushes your sleeve, leaving behind the scent of clover. Its eyes meet yours, and for a heartbeat, you forget where you are. They're not just eyes. They're windows, deep and endless, reflecting not only the lantern light, but something of yourself, too. You feel seen, truly seen, in a way that is gentle and safe. The stable keeper's voice drifts over your shoulder. They choose, not the other way around. You can wander here for days, admiring every mane, every horn. But the bond begins only when a unicorn decides your heart matches theirs. You'll know when it happens. The glow will tell you. You nod slowly, though you aren't entirely sure what she means. A glow? Will you glow? Will the unicorn glow? Maybe both. The thought makes you smile, a little nervous, a little giddy. You continue down the aisle, passing unicorns with coats like cream, like copper, like rain clouds heavy with summer thunder. Each one watches you differently, some with curiosity, some with serene indifference, some with something almost like humor. One unicorn sneezes, startling you, and the resulting sparkle of dust makes you laugh despite yourself. The stable keeper grins. Don't stand too close to Ember. She sneezes glitter. The fairies love it, but the poor brooms can never keep up. You chuckle, your nerves easing. Somehow, even unicorns have quirks, and that makes them feel less like impossible beings and more like companions you might someday trust with your secrets. At the far end of the stable, you notice a stall set slightly apart. It isn't grander or brighter. In fact, it looks simpler, with only a single lantern bobbing softly above. And yet, you feel drawn to it. As you approach, you realize the unicorn inside is different. Its coat is pale, almost translucent, like moonlight given form. Its mane tumbles like threads of pearl, and its horn glows faintly, a steady, patient light rather than a flicker. But what stops you in your tracks are its eyes, soft, steady, the exact shade of dawn when the first hint of pink brushes the horizon. It doesn't move at first, simply watches you. Then, slowly, gracefully, it steps forward, hooves making almost no sound on the straw. Your breath hitches as it leans its head over the wooden rail, lowering its nose toward your open hands. You freeze, but then remember the stable keeper's words. Unicorns notice hearts. So you steady your breath, soften your shoulders, and simply open. The unicorn exhales, warm and sweet, like clover tea. Then, with a gentleness that makes your chest ache, it brushes its nose against your palm. And there it is, a glow. Soft, pale, blooming not just from its mane or horn, but from your own skin as well. Your hand shimmers faintly, as though moonlight has seeped into your veins, and the unicorn's eyes brighten. It isn't a blinding light. It's more like the glow of a nightlight in a child's room. Comforting. Quiet. Home. The stablekeeper sighs softly, pleased. Aha! There it is. Your first bond. Remember this moment. It happens only once. You swallow hard. Emotions tangled. Excitement, wonder, disbelief, joy. You can't find words, but you don't need to. The unicorn presses its nose closer, and in that silence, you understand. You belong here, with this unicorn. Under the fairy moon's watchful glow, the lanterns bob gently around you, almost as if applauding, and the stable feels less like a place of waiting, and more like the beginning of a story. The unicorn lingers at your side, its nose brushing gently against your hand again, as though confirming that yes, the connection was real. The glow has not faded. It shimmers faintly around your fingers, and in the unicorn's mane too, like two candles sharing the same flame. You feel a curious warmth spread through your chest, not heavy, but buoyant, as if your heart has grown wings. The stablekeeper tilts her head, her braid swinging slightly. There it is, the first bonding glow. Some think it's just light, but it's more than that. It's the echo of trust, reflected outward. Once formed, it doesn't go away. Not ever. Her words settle over you like a promise. The unicorn lifts its head, eyes soft and calm, and for the first time, you realize something extraordinary. You don't need words to understand each other. A thought brushes against your mind, not in sentences, but in feelings. A sense of welcome, of gladness, of recognition. You exhale shakily, smiling, and whisper, "Hello." The unicorn flicks its ears forward and lowers its head slightly, as if bowing back. The glow brightens for a moment, then steadies again, warm and sure. You stand there in quiet wonder, until a soft laugh escapes your lips. "I don't even know your name," you murmur. At that, the unicorn's horn glimmers faintly brighter, a ripple of light sliding down into your palm. Not words, but something like a melody unfurls in your mind. Soft, lilting, like a lullaby hummed on a quiet evening. And within it, a feeling so clear you know it instantly. Leora. The name lands gently in your thoughts, as if it had always been there, waiting for you to remember it. You stroke the unicorn's mane and whisper, "Leora." The glow around you both pulses once, like a heart agreeing. The stable-keeper smiles knowingly. "Ah, she's shared her name with you. That's rare on the first meeting. You must carry a quiet heart." You laugh softly, cheeks warming. "Quiet? I've been buzzing inside since I walked in." The stable-keeper chuckles. "Perhaps so, but unicorns don't listen to noise in the mind. They listen to the stillness beneath it. And yours, it seems, is a song she likes." Leora nudges you again, this time firmer, as if to say, "Pay attention." We've more to do than stand here. You grin, patting her neck. Her coat is softer than anything you've touched, like velvet dipped in moonlight, cool but somehow warm at the same time. You notice then that other students have gathered further down the aisle, some already glowing faintly beside their unicorns, some still waiting with nervous hope. A boy whispers encouragement to a golden unicorn that stubbornly turns its head away, clearly unimpressed. A girl giggles as her unicorn playfully tugs at her braid. The stable feels alive with these new connections forming, each glow a spark of story beginning. The stable keeper claps her hands gently, drawing everyone's attention. Now that bonds have been made, it is time to step outside. The fairy moon shines brightest tonight, and she blesses every first glow. Your heart leaps. Another ceremony? Leora seems to sense your excitement because she steps smoothly out of her stall. No halter, no rope, just trust. She falls into step beside you as though you've walked together for years. Together you follow the others outside, into the meadow beyond the stables. The night has deepened, the sky darker but alive with stars, each one twinkling like a secret wink. The fairy moon hangs low now, swollen and bright, painting the meadow in silver. Every blade of grass glimmers as though frosted. The air hums, not with insects or birds, but with something grander, like the sky itself is singing, though too softly for your ears to fully catch. The students and unicorns gather in a wide circle, and instinctively, you and Leora step into place. She brushes her shoulder against yours, steady, grounding, while your glow mingles with hers, until you can hardly tell where yours ends and hers begins. It feels less like light and more like a heartbeat you both share. In the center of the circle, the older fairy you first met in the courtyard floats down, her wings shimmering silver in the moonlight. Her voice carries easily, though she speaks softly. The fairy moon watches tonight, as she always has, but brighter, for she sees you. New hearts, new bonds, new promises. Let her light remind you that connection is not possession, and love is not command. It is listening, trusting, and holding gently. Her words echo in your chest, and when you glance at Leora, you see her eyes gleam brighter, as though she too feels the truth of them. The fairy lifts her hands, and the moonlight bends, literally bends, like liquid spilling down from the sky. It pours into the circle, touching each unicorn, each child, weaving silvery threads between them. When it touches you, warmth spreads across your skin, and Leora's horn flares gently with light. The threads shimmer, then dissolve, leaving behind a calmness deeper than still water. For a moment, you swear the fairy moon itself leans closer. You feel its presence like a hand on your shoulder, a wordless blessing whispered directly into your heart. And then it drifts back, steady and eternal, content that its promise has been kept again tonight. The circle breathes as one. Children and unicorns, hearts and light, all woven together. You find yourself laughing softly, not because anything is funny, but because joy has spilled over and has nowhere else to go. Leora snorts, amused, and nudges your shoulder again, as though teasing you for laughing at nothing. You stroke her neck, still laughing, and whisper, Okay, I'll behave. But of course, she knows you won't. Not completely. And somehow, that makes the bond even stronger. The stable keeper steps forward once more. Tonight, you felt your first glow. In time, it will guide you further, teaching you how to walk with your unicorn not as rider and steed, but as partners in light. For now, rest in the joy of what has begun. As the gathering begins to drift apart, you linger in the meadow with Leora. The grass sways gently around you, silver-tipped under the fairy moon. And for the first time since stepping through the academy's gate, you feel entirely at home. The meadow still shimmers with the afterglow of the moon's blessing, as though the earth has been dusted with quiet starlight. Students wander slowly back toward the academy, some yawning, some whispering excitedly about their unicorns. But instead of following them immediately, Leora nudges your hand with her nose. You glance at her, puzzled. She flicks her tail toward a smaller path, winding away from the main trail, her eyes gleaming with a kind of playful insistence. Off we go, then, you whisper. Her ears flick forward in answer, and before you know it, your feet are carrying you down the little trail. It leads you to a gentle hollow nestled between low hills. Lanterns float lazily above a long blanket spread across the grass, and sitting atop it are baskets. Plump, wicker baskets, practically spilling over with treats. The scent reaches you before you even settle onto the blanket. Warm bread, roasted nuts, fruit that smells sweeter than any fruit has a right to smell, and something sugary you can't quite name. Leora lowers her head to investigate one of the baskets, and a fairy pops up from behind it with a squeak. Careful! Those muffins aren't for nibbling horns. The fairy scolds, brushing crumbs off her skirt. You laugh, covering your mouth, and Leora gives you a look as if to say, Well, I wasn't going to eat them. Not entirely. The fairy grins then, mischief dancing in her eyes. You're one of the new ones. Perfect timing. Tonight's the first night picnic. She flits upward, wings scattering sparkles, and gestures broadly at the feast. Go on, don't be shy. Everything here tastes better under the fairy moon. You sit cross-legged on the blanket, and almost immediately a plate appears in your lap, as if it had been waiting for you. On it sits a piece of bread, soft and steaming. You tear it open and gasp. It's shaped like a star, its edges glowing faintly with golden crumbs. You take a bite, and it tastes, well, like bread, yes, but also like every comfort you've ever known. Like toast on a rainy morning, like rolls at a holiday table, like laughter with friends. It melts on your tongue, light and warm, and you can't help but close your eyes in delight. Leora watches you, amused, then noses gently at a bowl of what looks like sugar-dusted apples. The fairy waves a hand. Go ahead, sweet one. Unicorn treats for unicorn mouths. Leora crunches happily, her glow brightening faintly, and you chuckle. You've got crumbs on your nose, you tell her, though of course she doesn't care. Other students and their unicorns begin arriving, filling the meadow with quiet chatter and laughter. Someone passes around a teapot. its spout steaming with something that smells of cinnamon and honey. When you take a sip, the tea bursts across your tongue like liquid sunshine. It's so good you nearly sigh aloud, but you stop yourself at the last second. Almost. Okay, fine. You sigh a little, and it makes the fairy beside you giggle. A boy across the blanket breaks his bread in half, only to find his piece shaped like a crescent moon instead of a star. "Hey," he calls, "mine's different." Everyone laughs gently, and one of the fairies shrugs. "The bread chooses its shape," she says lightly, as though that explains everything. Which, here, it probably does. You glance back at your star-shaped bread, grinning. "Guess mine knew I needed a star tonight." Leora leans down and nudges your shoulder again, then rests her nose near your plate, clearly curious. You chuckle and break off a tiny piece of crust, offering it to her. She sniffs it, decides it's acceptable, and munches delicately before snorting a little puff of glowing dust right back at you. The fairy next to you bursts out laughing. "Well, now you sparkle too." You wipe your nose, shaking your head. "Great. Breadcrumbs and glitter. Oh, what a look." The meadow hums with gentle cheer. Lanterns bob above the blanket, glowing in warm hues of pink, amber, and lavender, each one drifting in slow loops as if they're listening to the conversations below. A girl braids wildflowers into her unicorn's mane. Another hums softly, while her unicorn leans close to listen. Even the grass seems pleased, swaying lazily with the rhythm of the night. As the feast continues, one fairy flutters to the center of the blanket, carrying a small drum, no bigger than a thimble. She taps it with her fingers, and the sound rings out like the heartbeat of the meadow itself. Soft, steady, full of rhythm. Another fairy joins with a tiny flute made of reed, its music flowing like cool water. Soon the air fills with music that seems to shimmer, wrapping around everyone like a silver shawl. You find yourself swaying gently to the tune, your eyes half closing. Leora hums in her chest, a sound like a purr, but deeper. And for a moment, you wonder if unicorns can sing. The idea makes you smile, and in your imagination, you picture a choir of unicorns wearing tiny bow ties, rehearsing scales. The thought is so silly you giggle aloud, and Leora flicks her ear as though she caught the image herself. A fairy leans over and whispers conspiratorially, "Careful what you imagine here. It might just happen." And with that, one of the lanterns above suddenly reshapes itself into the faint outline of a bow tie before floating back into a regular glowing orb. You laugh harder, covering your face. Leora huffs, clearly unimpressed with bow ties, but her horn sparkles faintly as though she secretly enjoyed the joke. Time stretches in that hollow. You eat more bread, more fruit, sip more tea. You talk with other students, sharing little pieces of yourself, though no one asks anything too sharp or serious. The night feels soft-edged, designed not for challenges, but for comfort, for the simple joy of being new, of being welcomed. Eventually, the fairies clap their hands, and the lanterns drift upward, glowing brighter as though gathering the last bits of magic from the picnic. The blankets fold themselves neatly, baskets closing with gentle snaps, and suddenly the meadow looks as though it had never been touched, save for the warm glow still lingering in your chest. Leora steps closer, brushing her head against your shoulder, her glow steady and calm. You stroke her mane, the memory of star-shaped bread still warm in your mouth, and think to yourself that if every meal here is this magical, you may never want to leave Unicorn Academy. The fairy moon hangs higher now, her silver light softening into a gentle hush. The night isn't over. In fact, you sense the next wonder waiting just beyond the meadow, like a page of a story eager to be turned. The meadow lies quiet now, tidied as though the picnic were only a sweet dream that brushed past and slipped away. But you still taste the star bread on your tongue, still feel the warmth of tea humming in your chest, and Leora's steady glow against your side makes everything seem more real than ever. She flicks her mane toward the Academy's heart, and you follow, her steps falling into rhythm with yours, as though you've walked together forever. The path winds gently, curving through gardens that glisten with dew like handfuls of diamonds scattered carelessly by a playful sky. Every flower seems to bow slightly as you pass, petals glowing faintly under the fairy moon. Somewhere close, a harp strums, not by human hands, but by the wind itself, plucking at silver threads strung between two willow trees. You laugh softly, nudging Leora. Even the trees here play music. She answers with a low hum, not quite a whinny, not quite a purr, but something that vibrates through your ribs like agreement. Ahead, a wide clearing opens, and you see torches set in circles, not burning with flame, but with captured moonlight, steady and soft. Dozens of students and unicorns gather there, whispering excitedly, their eyes sparkling with the same glow you saw during the bonding. At the center stands a tall figure cloaked in silver fabric that shimmers as though stitched with rain. Her wings are vast, folding and unfolding like sails, and her crown gleams faintly, not gold, not silver, but a piece of the moon itself. It is the head fairy, guardian of the Academy. Her voice is not loud, yet it reaches you with ease, flowing into your ears like water, finding its way into every hollow. Children of the fairy moon, she begins, tonight we celebrate your first glow. The bonds you have found are not chance nor accident. They are the weaving of promises, threads tied before you even stepped beneath these branches. Tonight, you and your unicorns shall wear crowns of moonlight, so that all who see you may know you are keepers of this bond. Ha! Your breath catches. Crowns? You glance at Leora, whose ears flick toward you knowingly. She doesn't look surprised. She looks ready. Fairies emerge from the crowd, each carrying strands of silver light in their small hands. The threads look fragile as spider silk, yet they hum faintly, as though alive. One by one, the fairies drift to the students and unicorns, weaving the light into crowns. You watch, mesmerized as the strands twine together, shaping not stiff metal but soft, glowing circlets that pulse like gentle stars. When your turn comes, a fairy as small as a teacup hovers before you, her wings buzzing softly. She tilts her head, studying you, then nods. Yes, yours should have blossoms. She flicks her fingers, and tiny flowers bloom along the silver threads. Moonflowers, their petals pale as pearls, opening as if the crown itself were alive. Carefully, she places it upon your head. It settles not with weight, but with warmth, like sunlight caught in your hair. Leora's crown forms at the same time, woven not with blossoms, but with drifting sparks that float just above her mane. They look like fireflies made of silver, circling gently, never landing, never fading. When her crown settles, her glow brightens, and for a moment you swear she is more moon than unicorn. A piece of the sky come down to walk beside you. The head fairy raises her hands, and the entire clearing fills with brighter light. Remember, children, the crowns will fade by morning, but the bond remains. Wear them not as trophies, but as reminders. Every glow is a promise of kindness, and kindness once given becomes light forever. The students murmur soft promises to themselves. You hear whispers. I will listen. I will care. I will not rush. And without thinking, you whisper too. I will walk gently and keep the glow safe. Leora nudges your shoulder, her eyes gleaming as if to say she heard you, and she approves. Then the music begins. Not from instruments, not from voices, but from the moon itself. A low hum rises, sweeping over the clearing, weaving into your bones until your very breath feels like part of the song. The crowns glow brighter, and one by one, students and unicorns begin to move. Not a dance of steps learned or rehearsed, but a dance of heartbeats, walking, twirling, pausing, swaying, all guided by the moon's song. You find yourself moving too. At first uncertain, but Leora guides you, her hooves striking the earth in perfect rhythm. You laugh, quiet, delighted, and spin, your crown spilling silver sparks into the air. For a heartbeat, you glimpse yourself through her eyes. A child radiant with wonder, wrapped in moonlight, glowing not just from outside, but from within. And in turn, she glows even brighter, fed by your joy. Around you, laughter and movement weave together, a tapestry of new bonds celebrated. A boy trips over his own feet, but his unicorn steadies him with a gentle nudge, and they laugh together. A girl pauses mid-step to hug her unicorn tightly, her crown slipping sideways in the process, and everyone chuckles softly, not unkindly. You and Leora keep moving until the music slows, softens, fades into silence like a sigh. The crowns still glow faintly, though less brightly now, as if the moon is reminding you it will not linger forever. The head fairy lifts her arms once more. So, it is done. Tonight you have worn the crowns of first light. Sleep now with open hearts, for tomorrow your journey deepens. The students bow their heads, the unicorns dipping their horns in unison, and the ceremony ends. Slowly, the gathering drifts apart. Some children stumble sleepily toward their dormitories, crowns bobbing crookedly. Others linger, reluctant to let the moment go. You and Leora remain a little longer, sitting quietly in the clearing as the last of the silver torches dim. You touch your crown, surprised at how warm it feels still, and murmur, I wish this could last forever. Leora lowers her head, resting her nose in your lap. The glow between you pulses once, steady and calm. And though the crown will fade, you know the light inside will not. Above you, the fairy moon drifts behind a soft veil of cloud, as though tucking herself in, content with the promise kept tonight. The crowns still shimmer faintly as you and Leora wander away from the clearing. The silver threads pulsing like a heartbeat before dimming with every step. But, rather than sadness, what you feel is a kind of fullness, like the way you feel after a really good laugh or a really good nap. Warm, calm, steady. The path curves softly through the academy grounds until you notice a glow that isn't lantern or torchlight. It rises ahead of you like mist, pale pink and lavender, spreading across the meadow in gentle waves. Leora's ears prick forward, and you feel her eagerness ripple into you, tugging your own steps quicker. When you step into the meadow, the glow surrounds you completely. The flowers here are unlike any you've seen before. Their stems are slender and shimmering, bending gracefully toward the fairy moon. Their petals are still closed, like sleeping hands folded tight. But when a breeze stirs and a faint lullaby drifts on the air, the blossoms begin to open, one by one. It's a sight you can hardly believe is real. Each flower unfurls like it's waking from the gentlest dream, releasing a faint hum as it opens. The sound blends with the lullaby, a harmony of blossoms, as though the entire meadow is sighing in time with the song. The air smells of honey and rain, a fragrance so soothing you almost melt into it. You glance at Leora, who is watching intently, her horn pulsing faintly in rhythm with the melody. Do you hear it too? You whisper. She answers with a soft nicker, her eyes half closed, and for a moment you swear she is humming along. The flowers sway, glowing brighter, and you realize the lullaby isn't just carried by the breeze. It comes from the meadow itself. Each petal is a note, each blossom a breath of the song. And somehow, it isn't just music. It feels like a dream spilling into the world, seeping into your skin until your eyelids grow heavy. You sink onto the grass, Leora folding her legs neatly beside you. The blades of grass feel softer than any blanket, cool yet welcoming, as though they've been waiting for you. Above, the fairy moon peers through drifting clouds, her light spilling across the meadow, adding silvery notes to the blossom's lullaby. The song deepens, and the meadow shifts. Around you, shapes begin to shimmer, half formed but beautiful. A child's giggle dances across the air, though no child is there. A butterfly made of starlight drifts by, landing briefly on your crown before vanishing into sparkles. You realize you are seeing dreams. Other people's dreams, perhaps even your own, spilling out of the blossoms and painting the night. A flower near you trembles and opens wider, releasing an image. A small boat floating down a river of milk, carrying a family of owls who wear tiny knitted scarves. You laugh softly, covering your mouth. That has to be someone's dream, you murmur. Leora nudges you, and for a heartbeat, you glimpse her dream as well. A meadow of endless, sugar-dusted apples, each one glowing softly as she crunches happily through them. The image makes you giggle. Of course, food dreams, More blossoms open. You see a unicorn with wings made of rainbows, a girl flying through a bubble that never pops, a cat teaching a class of mice how to paint. The dreams are whimsical, tender, utterly harmless, and each one floats away like a bubble, drifting up into the night sky until it fades among the stars. The lullaby shifts again, and suddenly it feels personal, as though it has turned its face toward you. Your eyelids flutter, heavier now, and when you blink, you find yourself standing, not in the meadow, but in a dream spun for you. You're in a gentle glade where the grass is sprinkled with sugar crystals that crunch sweetly under your bare feet. The sky is a swirl of lavender and pale peach, and every star above is shaped like a heart. Leora is there too, though in this dream she is a little smaller, almost full-like, with a mane that ripples as though it's made of water. She trots toward you playfully, splashing droplets of light with each step, and when she bows her head, you climb onto her back without hesitation. Together, you gallop across the Dream Meadow. Each hoofbeat rings like a bell, and flowers bloom instantly where Leora steps. Sunflowers, roses, daisies, blossoms of every kind, filling the air with fragrance so sweet you can almost taste it. You lean forward, laughter spilling out of you, and Leora races faster, carrying you toward the horizon where the fairy moon hovers impossibly large, like a mother watching over her children. At the edge of the horizon, the meadow tilts, and suddenly you're riding up into the sky itself. Clouds puff beneath you like pillows, and when Leora leaps onto them, they bounce softly, carrying you both higher, higher, until you're weaving through stars. Some of the stars giggle when you brush past them. Others wink knowingly, as though they've been waiting for you to visit. You reach out, and one of the stars pops into your hand like a soap bubble, leaving behind a small, glowing feather. You tuck it into your pocket, wondering if it will follow you back into waking. If not, well, at least you'll always know you caught a star, even if only in a dream. The dream stretches, bends, softens, until you're not riding anymore, but floating, cradled by invisible arms. The lullaby hums through you like a heartbeat, steady and soothing. You glance down and see yourself curled up in the real meadow, Leora beside you, both of you glowing faintly under the fairy moon. And in that moment, you understand. This meadow isn't just a place for flowers to bloom. It's a place for hearts to rest, for dreams to slip out of hiding, for bonds to grow, not only in waking, but in the gentle weaving of sleep. The lullaby fades, the blossoms fold slowly, and you blink your eyes open. Morning hasn't come yet. The moon is still high, watching. But the meadow feels calmer now, as though it has sung its fill. You stretch, yawn, and lean against Leora's warm side. Remember the star-shaped bread? You murmur drowsily, your words slurring slightly. This was better, sweeter. Leora flicks her ear, amused, and lowers her head so that her crown brushes yours. The silver sparks mingle briefly, glowing brighter before settling into quiet. The night isn't over yet. Somewhere beyond the meadow, the Academy waits with new wonders. But for now, you carry the lullaby inside you, humming faintly like a secret you'll never forget. The Dream Meadow lingers in your mind long after you've left its glow, like a favorite song that hums softly even when the music has stopped. You and Leora walk slowly along a winding path, the grass still damp from starlight. The crowns on your heads dimmer now, but still faintly pulsing. Every step feels hushed, as though the world is catching its breath. Soon, the ground beneath your feet changes. Pebbles crunch softly, then fade into something even stranger. The path becomes translucent, shimmering faintly, as though woven from strands of mist. You stop, blinking. Ahead, the path doesn't lead deeper into the forest at all. Instead, it rises, upward, higher and higher, like a stairway of glass curving toward the clouds. Leora snorts gently, her breath glowing in the moonlight. She takes a step onto the misty stair, and the cloud beneath her hoof ripples but holds. She glances back at you, eyes gleaming with encouragement, as if to say, "Are you coming? Your first step is cautious, your toes curling as though they'll slip right through." But instead of falling, the cloud feels springy, soft, like stepping on the world's fluffiest mattress. You let out a startled laugh. "Okay," you whisper. "This is ridiculous, in the best possible way." The stairs rise steadily, curving upward until you and Leora are above the treetops. The academy spreads out beneath you. Its towers glow faintly like lanterns, its gardens swirl with silver dew, and the meadows gleam as if painted by moonlight. From here, it looks less like a school and more like an entire kingdom stitched out of dreams. Higher still, the path levels out, stretching across the sky like a pale ribbon. This is no ordinary stairway. It's a practice ground, suspended among the clouds. Other students are already here, each with their unicorn, bouncing, leaping, testing the cloud's springy surface. Giggles float through the air, some nervous, some thrilled. The clouds bounce like trampolines, sending children and unicorns bobbing gently upward before settling back down in soft, rolling waves. You step onto the wide expanse, the clouds sinking slightly beneath your weight. Leora steps beside you, her hooves sinking in just enough to make ripples. It feels strange, magical, as though the sky itself has agreed to carry you for a while. A fairy instructor hovers nearby, her wings shimmering faintly blue. She claps her hands, and the clouds pulse in response. "Welcome to Sky Steps," she calls cheerfully. "Tonight, you'll learn the first lesson of cloud walking, balance, trust, and..." She winks mischievously. "Learning how to bounce without tumbling head over heels. It happens more often than you'd think." The students giggle nervously, a few glancing down at the academy far below. You glance too, your stomach swooping faintly at the height. But then, the fairy's voice softens. "Remember, the clouds will always hold you. Even if you fall, you'll only sink and rise again. The sky is kinder than it looks. That reassurance is enough to make you try." You bounce once, lightly, and the cloud springs back, lifting you an inch. It's like being on a giant pillow that wants to play. You try again, higher this time, and the air rushes past your cheeks, cool and fresh, before you land softly. You can't help it. You laugh, pure and delighted, and the cloud answers with a bounce so gentle it feels like laughter in return. Leora joins you, her hooves creating ripples that spread like waves across a pond. She bounds lightly, each step sending her mane flying in glowing arcs. Her joy is contagious, and soon you're leaping higher, bouncing together, your laughter mingling. At one point, you land a little crooked, tumbling backward, only to sink slowly into the cloud like it's made of marshmallow. When it bounces you back up, you're giggling so hard you nearly forget to stand. Graceful, you tell Leora between breaths. She snorts, amused, flicking her tail as if to say, "You should see yourself." Around you, the other students experiment too. One boy tries to leap as high as possible, only to disappear briefly into the cloud before popping back up, hair full of fluff. A girl bounces so gently, it looks like she's walking on water, her unicorn moving beside her in synchronized steps. The fairy instructor claps in delight. Yes, yes, you're finding the rhythm. Cloud walking isn't about speed, it's about trust. Let the sky hold you, and you'll find your balance. Her words sink deep into you. Trust, not control. You close your eyes, breathing deeply, and let yourself fall backward onto the cloud. Instead of fear, you feel weightless, carried, buoyed by something vast and soft. The cloud rocks you gently, like a cradle. Leora lowers her head and nudges your arm, reminding you she's there too. When you open your eyes, the moon is directly above, enormous, her glow spilling across you like a blanket. With that, you rise again, steadier now. Each bounce feels less like testing and more like belonging. You're not forcing the clouds to hold you. You're accepting the gift they already offered. Together, you and Leora leap higher, the air rushing cool against your skin until it feels like you might touch the stars themselves. Then, something extraordinary happens. On your highest leap yet, the air ripples, and for a split second you land not on cloud, but on a ribbon of starlight stretched between them. It shines gold beneath your feet, solid and soft at once. You gasp, but before you can tumble, Leora joins you, her hooves striking sparks from the starlight ribbon. You run together for only a heartbeat before it fades back into mist, but it leaves you breathless, glowing, certain that the sky just offered you a secret. The practice continues until everyone is glowing with exhilaration. Even the shyest students are laughing now, their unicorns bounding beside them with joy. At last, the fairy instructor claps once more. Enough for tonight. You've learned your first steps. The sky will remember you, and each time you return, she'll carry you a little higher. The clouds ripple gently, lowering like an escalator until you're safely back on solid ground. Your legs feel wobbly, like jelly, but your heart feels steady, lifted. You glance back at the sky, the clouds drifting lazily overhead as though nothing unusual just happened. But you know better. You know the clouds carry laughter now, tucked into their folds. Leora nuzzles your shoulder, her eyes bright. You stroke her mane, whispering, "That was... wow, even better than bouncing on pillows." She snorts softly, and you add, Okay, better than starbread too." Almost. Together, you walk on, the night still open ahead of you, and the sky above carrying the memory of your laughter like a lullaby. It will keep forever. The clouds drift away behind you, leaving only the faintest echo of laughter in your bones and a curious lightness in your steps. Even as you walk on firm earth again, you feel as though part of you still bounces gently, carried on pillows of sky. Leora walks at your side, her mane rippling like spilled moonlight, and the crown of silver sparks above her head flickers with the rhythm of your shared breath. The path now leads to something quieter. A grove of trees arches before you, their trunks pale as candle wax, their leaves silver-tipped, whispering faintly to one another. They lean close, their branches bending into an archway, almost like a doorway, inviting you in. A hush settles the moment you step beneath them, as though the world is holding its breath. At the grove's heart stands a building that seems grown rather than built, a vast library, its walls formed from living wood that curves upward into domes and spires. The windows are not glass, but layers of shimmering leaves, through which golden light flickers softly, like lanterns hidden inside. You hear no voices, no footsteps, only the faint sound of pages turning, though the door is still closed. When you push gently, the door sighs open on its own, welcoming you into a warmth that smells of parchment, honeyed wood, and just a whisper of cinnamon. The silence here is not empty, but full, like a pause in a story right before the best part. Rows upon rows of books stretch upward, their spines glowing faintly. But what strikes you first is not their number, it's the sound. Every shelf hums softly, as though the books themselves are whispering. You take a step closer, and the whispers sharpen into words, sentences, entire tales drifting into the air. You lean toward one thick book, bound in green velvet, and a voice rises clear as crystal. Once, long ago, there lived a unicorn who carried the morning sun on her back. You step back, wide-eyed. The book keeps talking, pages fluttering faintly even though no one has touched them. Leora brushes her nose against the shelf beside you. Another book pops open, whispering. Beneath the fairy moon, children learn to weave crowns of light, each one brighter than the stars. You laugh softly. That one's about us. The book pauses, as if embarrassed, and snaps shut with a thump. A fairy librarian flits down from the ceiling, wings folded neatly, spectacles perched comically on her tiny nose. She frowns at you, though her eyes twinkle. Careful, young dreamer. These books are eager, yes, but too much listening at once, and you'll tumble head first into their tales and forget to come out for supper. You press your lips together, trying not to giggle, and nod solemnly. Understood. Though in your head, you can't help imagining yourself popping out of a book days later, hair full of cobwebs, mumbling about dragons and donuts. The librarian softens, fluttering closer. Still, it is tradition for new students to hear their unicorn's first story here. The book will choose you, as the unicorn did. Follow the hum that feels most like your own heart. You glance at Leora, whose eyes glow gently. Together, you wander between shelves, listening. The hums blur at first, a chorus of voices, eager, insistent. But then you hear one clearer than the rest, a low, steady tone, pulsing in rhythm with your own heartbeat. You follow it to a narrow shelf tucked between two taller ones. The book is small, bound in white leather, its cover plain except for a faintly glowing spiral etched in silver. When you reach for it, the book quivers, almost like it's shivering with excitement. The moment your fingers touch the cover, the whispers fall silent. Then, the book bursts open in a gentle rush of light. You don't read the story. You enter it. The library fades, and suddenly you are standing in a field of dawn-colored mist. Leora is beside you, her crown flickering softly. In front of you rises a younger version of her, smaller, her mane shorter, her horns still faint. The story unfolds not in words, but in vision. Leora as a foal, learning to walk beneath the fairy moon. Leora chasing a butterfly made of light, tripping over her own hooves and tumbling into grass so soft it caught her like a pillow. Leora standing at the edge of a river, her reflection shimmering with curiosity, her heart already waiting for the bond she hadn't yet found. You. The images wash over you like water, each one glowing with warmth. You feel her laughter, her curiosity, even her loneliness before you arrived. And then, the final image. Tonight, the moment your hand first touched her mane, and the glow blossomed between you both. The memory is bright, brighter than the others, as though the book itself was waiting for that page to be written. When the vision fades, you find yourself back in the library, the little white book closed in your hands. Your chest feels full, brimming, as though you've just hugged an entire story, and it hugged you back. Leora leans against you, her glow deepened, steady as a lantern flame. The librarian clears her throat gently. There it is then, a unicorn's first tale. Keep it close. Every bond has its beginning, and every beginning deserves to be remembered. You nod, tucking the book against your heart. I'll keep it safe. As you leave the library, the whispers rise again, filling the air with a chorus of stories. Some laugh, some sigh, some hum lullabies. You glance back once, smiling, and whisper to the shelves, "Good night." A dozen voices whisper back at once, "Good night." Outside, the air feels fresher, cooler. The moon hangs low now, painting silver across your path. Leora walks beside you, the little book glowing faintly in your hands, and you know you'll never forget the sound of her story, whispered just for you. The night air carries you onward, soft and cool, threaded with faint scents of jasmine and dew. You feel lighter somehow, as though carrying the little white book in your hands makes you part library, part dream. Leora walks beside you, her crown sparks flickering gently like sleepy fireflies. Neither of you speak, yet the silence is companionable, full of the hush that comes after a story is told. Then, the hush begins to shift. You notice faint glimmers ahead, floating like scattered stars, but not high above. They're low, close to the ground, bobbing gently, each one glowing in a different color. Some are soft golden, others pale blue, pink, or green, and together they paint the air with a rainbow shimmer. As you step closer, you hear laughter, not the raucous kind, but warm, bubbling, contagious. A whole crowd of students has gathered in another wide meadow, this one ringed with willow trees. Hanging from the branches are lanterns, hundreds of them, swaying gently like fruit of light. And in the center of the meadow, long tables are set out, piled high with paints, brushes, jars of glowing powder, bits of ribbon, even sprigs of pressed flowers. A fairy with coppery wings swoops toward you, a streak of paint already smudged across her cheek. She beams. Welcome, latecomers. Just in time for the Friendship Lantern Festival. She gestures grandly toward the tables, then winks. Pick a lantern, make it your own, and tonight we'll send them skyward with wishes. Your chest lifts, excitement bubbling inside. You've never decorated a lantern before, let alone one that glows as if it already has magic simmering in its paper walls. Leora nudges you, her eyes bright. She clearly wants you to choose one. You wander among the tables, each lantern different. Some are tall and narrow, others round and plump, some shimmering with faint designs already swirling across them like pale tattoos. One catches your eye, a simple round lantern, glowing with a gentle, steady light, neither too bright nor too dim. When you touch it, it warms beneath your hand as though pleased to be chosen. You set it on the table, and immediately the supplies beckon. Paintbrushes dip themselves into jars, hovering expectantly. The pressed flowers hum faintly, their petals shifting colors as if to say, "Pick me, pick me." You laugh softly. Well, all right, but I don't promise neatness. Your brush touches the lantern's surface, and the paint spreads more smoothly than any paint ever has, like silk spilling across fabric. You paint a star first, remembering the bread from the picnic, and the star gleams brighter than the rest of the lantern for a moment, almost winking. You laugh, shaking your head. Of course you remember that. Leora watches, curious, and then lowers her nose toward a bowl of ribbon. She plucks out one, pale lavender, shimmering faintly, and drops it onto the table with a little snort. You raise an eyebrow. Are you decorating too? She flicks her tail as if to say, well, obviously. You tie the ribbon around the lantern's top, and somehow it suits perfectly. Other students bustle around you. One paints a lantern covered in spirals that spin slowly on their own. Another glues pressed flowers into shapes that bloom wider as the lantern warms. A group of younger children giggle as their lantern suddenly sprouts tiny painted wings and flaps itself across the table before settling back down. The whole meadow buzzes with joy, creation, and the soft glow of hundreds of lanterns waking into color. When everyone finishes, the copper-winged fairy claps her hands. Beautiful, every one of them. Now we gather. The meadow grows quiet, lanterns cradled carefully in every pair of hands. You lift yours, feeling its warmth seep into your palms. It hums faintly, almost like a heartbeat. The fairy's voice softens. Tonight, we send our lanterns into the sky not as simple lights, but as vessels of friendship. Each one carries a wish. Not for ourselves, but for someone else. A gift, a hope. You pause, the lantern glowing steadily in your grasp. What wish would you send? You think of Leora, of the way her story shimmered in the library, of her dream of sugar-dusted apples in the meadow of lullabies. You smile softly. I wish for her joy, for her never to feel lonely again. As if hearing, Leora presses her nose against your hand, her glow warming with yours. Around you, other voices whisper wishes. I wish my unicorn always feels safe. I wish my friend finds courage. I wish for laughter that lasts. Each one drifts into the air, soft and sincere. The fairy lifts her lantern high, and the willows bend as though bowing. Now, release. One by one, lanterns lift. At first they wobble, clumsy with earthbound reluctance, but then they catch a current of magic and rise, steady and graceful. Your lantern pulls gently against your palms, and with a deep breath, you let go. It floats upward, the lavender ribbon trailing, the painted star glowing brighter. Higher and higher it drifts, joining the others until the night sky is filled with moving stars, a new constellation painted just for tonight. Some lanterns bob in clusters, others soar solo, but all together they look like a sky full of wishes rising to meet the fairy moon. You and Leora tilt your heads back, watching. For a long while, no one speaks. The meadow hums with the sound of hundreds of hearts beating together, tied by threads of hope. And though the lanterns grow smaller with the distance, their glow doesn't fade. It mingles with the stars until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You glance at Leora. Her eyes reflect the sky, lanterns dancing within them. You reach to stroke her mane and whisper, "It's beautiful, isn't it?" She leans into your touch, her horn glowing faintly brighter, as though your wish for her has already begun to weave itself into truth. At last, the copper-winged fairy claps her hands once more. "Carry this feeling with you always," she says, her voice as soft as the lantern light above. Friendship is not the lantern. It is the glow that lingers after it rises. The meadow slowly empties, children yawning, unicorns padding softly toward rest. But you linger for just a moment longer, watching your lantern vanish into the stars, carrying your wish to the fairy moon. And when you finally turn away, the glow follows you, gentle, steady, a reminder that even in the quietest moments, you're never truly alone. The meadow fades behind you, but the lantern glow lingers in your chest like a soft ember that refuses to dim. You walk with Leora along a winding path that threads between tall hedges, their leaves glistening faintly with dew. The moon is lower now, silver light brushing the tops of the hedges like a painter, adding the last strokes to a masterpiece. The night is deep, hushed, and you wonder if sleep might be waiting at the path's end. But then you hear it. Music. It drifts towards you first as a hum, then as a clear melody, weaving notes like ribbons through the still air. At once, you feel lighter, as though the song is not something you listen to, but something that listens to you. Your steps fall in rhythm without you realizing, and even Leora's hooves seem to echo the tune. The path widens into a small glade where fireflies gather thick as stardust. And at the center, you see them, unicorns, not in their daytime brightness, but cloaked in silvery glow, moving in circles, in spirals, in arcs so graceful they seem almost not to touch the ground. They are dancing, A fairy with hair braided in moonbeams hovers near, strumming an instrument shaped like a crescent. She smiles when she sees you. Welcome. You found the Moonlit Unicorn Dance. Her voice is lilting, a melody on its own. You whisper back, "It's beautiful." And it is. Breathtaking in its gentleness. The unicorns don't leap or gallop. They sway, they glide, each step measured like words in a lullaby. Their manes ripple as though caught in invisible tides. Their horns glimmer faintly, scattering sparks that fall like dust, but never quite reach the ground. Leora nudges you forward, as if to say, "Don't just watch, join." You hesitate, though your heart already beats to the music. "I don't know the steps," you murmur. The fairy laughs softly. "There are no steps, only listening." So, you take a deep breath, step into the circle, and let the melody guide you. At first, you're clumsy. Your shoes catch in the grass, your hands hang awkwardly. You imagine yourself tripping right into a unicorn and ending up with glitter in your hair for the rest of eternity. Not the worst fate, you think, but still. But then, you stop trying to move correctly. You just listen. The music wraps around you, lifting your arms, steadying your feet, softening your breath. And suddenly, you are not dancing alone. You are part of a living constellation, each dancer a star, each unicorn a comet's tail, all weaving a pattern that only exists in this moment. Leora twirls beside you, her hooves barely brushing the grass, her glow syncing perfectly with the music. When you spin, she spins, and for a heartbeat, you feel as though you are mirrors of one another. Two halves of a single note. The other unicorns welcome you wordlessly, shifting their steps to include yours, making space for your circles and your pauses. It feels less like joining a dance and more like being woven into a tapestry that has been waiting for your thread. The fairy's instrument changes tune, slower now, like waves lapping on a shore. The unicorns respond, their movements lengthening, gentling, swaying as though cradling the air itself. You find yourself reaching out, brushing your fingertips through Leora's mane, and she lowers her head so that her crown of sparks hovers just above your heart. For a moment, it feels as if the two of you are carrying the same light. Around you, the fireflies imitate the dance, bobbing in spirals and arcs, tracing glowing patterns in the night. Some even settle on your hair, tiny lanterns crowning you for just a breath. You laugh softly, imagining yourself walking home tomorrow morning with a whole colony of fireflies refusing to leave. The fairy's music shifts again. One last swell, gentle, lingering. The unicorns circle tighter, hooves brushing, horns glimmering. And then, as if on cue, all of you stop at once. The silence that follows is so deep it thrums, a silence full of what has just been shared. You bow slightly, as the unicorns do, and the circle dissolves. Some unicorns pad away to the shadows, their glow dimming into rest. Others linger, leaning against their chosen friends, eyes half closed. The fireflies scatter, their lights flickering into the trees. The fairy floats closer to you, her moonbeam hair shimmering faintly. "Remember," she whispers, "dancing is just listening made visible. You and your unicorn will always hear the same music, even when the world is quiet." You nod, heart brimming. You glance at Leora, and she nudges your shoulder, her crown still glowing steady. You know she heard it too. As you leave the glade, your steps remain lighter, your body still humming with melody. You realize you're smiling without even trying, as though the dance has lingered in your bones. And though the music has faded, the rhythm continues. A reminder that the quietest nights often hold the most beautiful songs. The rhythm of the dance still hums in your chest as you walk away from the glade. The music now, a memory but not yet gone. Each step feels softer, as though the earth beneath your feet remembers the beat too. Leora walks with you, her mane swaying in the same gentle pattern, her horn glinting faintly with every breath. The path dips downward, leading you toward the hush of water. At first, it's only the faintest murmur, like a secret whispered through the trees. Then it grows fuller, flowing steadily, until you step into a clearing and see it, a river wide and smooth, shimmering as though the moon itself has chosen to lie down upon its surface. The water glows faintly blue, its surface unbroken except for the occasional ripple where a silver fish leaps, scattering droplets that sparkle before melting back into the current. Fireflies hover here, too, but quieter than in the glade, as though respecting the stillness of this place. You kneel at the bank, dipping your fingers into the river. The water is cool, not cold, and it tingles against your skin, leaving tiny sparks that dance across your fingertips before fading. You laugh, softly, shaking your hand. Like touching starlight, a voice answers, warm and playful. That's because it is. You glance up. Sitting on a smooth stone near the water's edge is a fairy elder, her hair long and silver, her wings folded neatly behind her back. Her gown shimmers like flowing water, and when she smiles, her eyes crinkle like the corners of a favorite book. This, she says, gesturing to the river, is the memory stream. It carries not just water, but the gentle reflections of all who walk beneath the fairy moon. You tilt your head. Reflections? She nods. Not of faces, of feelings. She gestures toward the water again. You lean closer, peering into the surface. At first you see only your own reflection, soft and rippling. Then the shimmer shifts, and suddenly you are watching moments from the night. The lantern you painted, glowing with its lavender ribbon. The cloud pillow that carried you laughing through the sky. The meadow of lullabies where unicorns napped like living dreams. You gasp softly, your heart swelling. It remembers everything. The elder smiles. Yes, but not as a mirror does. It remembers the heart of it, the laughter, the warmth, the love. What you see here is not just the moment, but the feeling you carried within it. Leora steps closer, lowering her nose to the water. The stream ripples, and suddenly you see her memories too. Her younger self in the meadow of mist, chasing light butterflies. The first spark when your hands brushed her mane. The dance you just shared, your movements twined like notes in the same song. Your throat tightens. It's so beautiful. The elder chuckles softly. It is a gift. To look back without sorrow, only wonder. But remember, while the stream shows what has been, It also guides what may yet come. She lifts a hand, and the water stirs. Images swirl across the surface, lanterns rising higher than the stars. A meadow of unicorn foals galloping in joy, a path leading toward a glowing castle you haven't yet seen. Each image is soft, fleeting, like a dream that slips through your fingers upon waking. The elder leans closer. The stream does not promise. It only whispers possibilities. What matters is the wish you carry in your heart. You glance at Leora, remembering your lantern wish, for her joy, for her never to feel lonely again. The stream shimmers brighter, and for a heartbeat, you see her grown tall, mane flowing longer, crown of sparks blazing steady as a constellation, her laughter ringing like bells. Then the image fades, leaving ripples. You blink, breath caught, and whisper, "I'll help her get there." The elder smiles knowingly, and she will help you in ways you do not yet know. She rises from her stone, her gown rippling like liquid light. Take a sip before you go. The memory stream is safe, and its coolness will steady you. You cup your hands, dipping them into the water. When you drink, the taste is like nothing else. Fresh, sweet, and tinged with starlight. It settles in your chest, spreading calm, as though it has smoothed out the edges of your heart. You feel both lighter and steadier, as if the river has whispered, "You are held. Always." Leora drinks too, lowering her muzzle into the water. When she lifts her head, sparks drift down her mane, settling softly before dissolving. She looks stronger, brighter, as though the stream has deepened her glow. You rise, bowing slightly to the elder. "Thank you." She waves her hand gently. "Go on, child. The night is not yet finished. Carry the memory, carry the wish, and trust the stream within you." As you walk away, the river hums behind you, its surface smooth once more. But you know its reflection lingers in you, like a lantern that doesn't need a flame to stay lit. And as you step back onto the path, the moonlight seems warmer, as though the fairy moon itself is smiling at what you've seen. The sound of the memory stream lingers behind you, fading into a soft hum, like a lullaby that keeps echoing in the heart long after the last note. The path winds upward now, curling through clusters of tall grass that shimmer silver under the fairy moon. Each blade sways gently, as though bowing in rhythm to your passing, and little flecks of dew sparkle at their tips, tiny lanterns for wandering feet. Leora walks close, her breath steady, her horn glowing faintly brighter since she drank from the river. Every so often she glances at you, with a look that feels like both reassurance and curiosity, as if she knows something is coming and wants to see how you will greet it. And then you hear it. A different sound, not water or song, but a faint, rhythmic chiming. At first you think it's bells, maybe hidden in the grasses, but as you climb higher, the sound grows richer, layered, like hundreds of voices blending into one another. Not words, but tones, rising and falling. The path opens suddenly, and you gasp. You stand before the cliff's edge, and beyond it, the sky spreads vast and endless. The moon hangs low, full and brilliant, casting a silver pathway across the horizon. But it isn't the moon that takes your breath away. It's the choir. Unicorns, Dozens upon dozens stand upon the cliff in perfect formation. Their horns glow, not singly, but in harmony, sending beams of light upward that weave together like strands of a harp. The sound you hear, the chime, the tone, is their voices, not spoken but sung through the glow of their crowns and horns. It is unlike anything you've ever heard. Some notes are low and steady, like the heartbeat of the earth. Others rise high, trembling, like the laughter of starlight. Together, they form a harmony that seems to stretch into infinity, a song that feels older than the Academy itself. Leora stops beside you, her head lifting, her eyes wide. Her sparks tremble, as though they too want to join in. You whisper, It's a unicorn choir. A fairy in robes the color of midnight drifts towards you, her wings edged in silver. She bows slightly. You've found the choir of horns. They gather once each moon to sing to the sky, weaving the old magic into sound. You clutch your chest, overwhelmed. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. The fairy smiles. Would you like to add your voices to theirs? You glance at Leora, and her sparks brighten instantly, as though shouting yes, louder than words ever could. You nod. We'd love to. The fairy guides you to an open space among the unicorns. You feel small, humbled, stepping into their circle. Leora takes her place, lowering her head, her horn pulsing softly in rhythm with the choir. The fairy whispers, "Do not force your voice. Simply breathe and let the glow rise from the bond between you." You close your eyes. You breathe. And as you exhale, you feel something stir in your chest. A vibration. Faint at first, then stronger. It hums through your ribs, climbs into your throat, and spills out as a note. Not a word, not even a sound you recognize. Just pure tone. Leora's horn responds, her sparks rising brighter, and together your voices weave into the choir. The effect is immediate. The harmony shifts, deepens, as though the choir had been waiting for your note all along. Your sound blends seamlessly, not standing out, but completing a pattern you couldn't see until now. Tears prick your eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer immensity of belonging. The song rises. It swells into arcs and spirals, the horns glowing brighter, the tones stretching higher. The sky itself seems to listen, the stars pulsing faintly in rhythm, the moon glowing warmer. The cliffs tremble under the resonance, not in fear, but in reverence, as though they too are instruments in the great song. You catch glimpses as you sing. A unicorn beside you closes her eyes, her horn shedding tears of light that drift upward. Another child nearby presses both hands to their chest, their mouth open in wonder as their unicorn's glow braids perfectly with the choir. Everywhere, bond after bond shines brighter, voices weaving not just as individuals, but as threads in one vast tapestry. Leora leans against you as she sings, her crown sparking steadily. You can feel her strength, her joy, her pride flowing through the sound. You press your hand against her side, singing with her, and the glow between you flares brighter, steady as a heartbeat. The song does not end abruptly. It fades, layer by layer, each voice folding back into silence like waves withdrawing from a shore. At last, only a single, faint note lingers, held by the moon itself, before dissolving into the night. The silence afterward is immense, rich, not empty, but full of the memory of sound. No one speaks for a long time. You realize you are trembling, but it is not from cold. It is from awe. Finally, the fairy bows once more. You have given your note to the sky. The fairy moon has heard. Carry its echo within you. The unicorns begin to disperse, some padding away into the grasses, others lying down near the cliff edge to rest. You stay for a moment, gazing at the horizon where the glow of the horns still lingers faintly. You whisper, "We really sang to the moon." Leora nuzzles your shoulder, her sparks dimming gently as though to say, "Yes." And the moon sang back. As you turn from the cliff, the melody remains inside you, not loud, not fading, but steady, like a heartbeat you will never forget. The song of the unicorn choir still hums softly in your chest as you leave the cliffside, each step down the winding path echoing with the memory of tones that felt like starlight made sound. Leora walks beside you, her mane swaying as if she, too, carries the rhythm in her bones. The night air feels warmer now, almost protective, as though the fairy moon itself is guiding you onward with gentle hands. The path leads you through a grove of cedar trees, their branches whispering like hushed voices. Then the grove opens, and you step into a courtyard unlike any you've seen tonight. At its center stands a great tree, taller than any tower, its trunk smooth and silver as polished stone. Its branches stretch outward like arms, heavy with blossoms that glow faintly in shades of pale rose, soft gold, and deep indigo. The petals fall slowly, drifting through the air like lazy snowflakes, and each one that touches the ground dissolves into tiny sparks. Around the tree's base sit fairies in robes of every hue, their hands folded, their eyes half closed. Unicorns lie beside them, equally still, their horns glowing in quiet harmony. No one speaks, yet the silence is alive, a silence that feels more full than sound. A fairy elder gestures to you with a serene smile. "Welcome. You've arrived at the circle of blessings." You glance at Leora. She flicks her ears forward, eyes bright, her sparks dancing gently as if in anticipation. You whisper, "Blessings." The elder nods. Every bond between unicorn and rider is strong, but here, beneath the blessing tree, the fairy moon deepens it. Oh, you will share vows of care, and the tree will witness. Your heart flutters. Vows. The word feels both weighty and warm, like a blanket laid across your shoulders. You and Leora step closer to the tree. Its blossoms stir as if in greeting, petals drifting down to brush your hair and shoulders. The elder speaks softly. Close your eyes. Place your hand upon her mane. Speak from your heart, and she will answer. You kneel beside Leora, your fingers threading into the silk of her mane. The sparks from her crown warm your skin. You close your eyes, breathing deeply, and then words rise like a tide, gentle and unstoppable. "I vow to walk beside you, always," you whisper. "To listen when you are quiet, to laugh when you are joyful, to comfort when you are weary. I vow to keep your dreams safe and to share mine with you. I vow that you will never be alone. Not under this moon. Not under any. Leora leans into your touch, her sparks flaring brighter, and a soft hum vibrates from her chest. You don't hear words exactly, but you understand. Her vow flows into you like water. I vow to guard your heart, to carry you when your steps falter, to share the light I have and the light we make together. You are my voice, I am your strength, and we are one, always. Tears prick your eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer, impossible beauty of it. You press your forehead against her cheek, and in that moment, the glow between you swells, rising up like a lantern lifted to the sky. The blessing tree responds. Blossoms above tremble, then release in a cascade, thousands of glowing petals falling all at once. They swirl around you and Leora, a storm of light that doesn't sting but soothes, each petal brushing against your skin like a soft promise. Some settle briefly on your shoulders, your hair, Leora's mane, then dissolve into sparks that drift upward, carrying your vows to the fairy moon. The elder's voice is soft, reverent. It is done. The bond is sealed by love, witnessed by moon, carried by tree. No shadow can unmake what light has chosen. The courtyard glows brighter for a long moment, as though even the air itself has agreed. Then the blossoms settle back into their slow drift, the silence folding once more into peace. You sit with Leora beneath the tree, leaning against her warmth, feeling her steady breath. Around you, other pairs whisper vows of their own, voices gentle, some trembling with tears, others bubbling with laughter. The air hums with love so deep, it feels endless. You glance upward at the moon, now dipping low on the horizon. It seems to glow more golden than before, as though pleased with what it has witnessed. You whisper softly, almost to yourself, "We belong here." And Leora, pressing her muzzle against your shoulder, hums in agreement. The blossoms of the blessing tree still cling faintly to your hair as you step away from the courtyard, their glow fading slowly like the memory of a dream you don't want to lose. Leora walks close, her sparks calm and steady, no longer flickering with shyness, but burning with the quiet strength of something certain, something rooted. You both feel it, the vow, the sealing of your bond. It hums between you with every step. The path ahead is softer now, cushioned with moss that feels like walking across clouds fallen gently to the earth. The night is deep, nearly ready to fold into dawn, and the fairy moon hangs low, its light richer, warmer, as if it too is growing sleepy. You follow the mossy trail until it opens into a meadow that glows faintly with silver mist. At its center rises a hill, crowned not with trees or flowers, but with a smooth stone circle, ancient and luminous. Each stone shimmers faintly, carved with runes that seem to shift when you try to look at them too long. Waiting there are the fairies you've met along the way, the copper-winged one from the Lantern Festival, the moon-braided musician from the dance, the silver-haired elder from the memory stream, even the tiny librarian with spectacles perched precariously on her nose. They stand in a circle, their wings folded in reverence. The silver-haired elder steps forward, her gown trailing like water. Child of moonlight, unicorn of sparks, you have walked the path. You have laughed with clouds, sung with choirs, dreamed in meadows, and vowed beneath the tree. Now comes the final gift of the fairy moon. Your breath catches. The final gift. She gestures to the circle of stones. Enter together. You and Leora step forward, the mist curling around your legs like soft ribbon. The stones hum faintly as you cross their threshold, and suddenly everything grows brighter. Not harshly, not blindingly, just fuller, as though the light has seeped into every particle of the air. The moon lowers itself, impossibly close, until it feels as though you could reach out and brush its glowing cheek, and from its surface spills a river of silver light, flowing down gently, wrapping around you and Leora in a radiant embrace. The fairies' voices rise, soft and steady, not singing words, but tones like the choir of unicorns. The runes on the stones blaze brighter, their shifting patterns aligning for the first time into a language you don't need to read to understand. You are chosen. You are joined. You are seen. The light seeps into your skin, warm and steady, into your chest, where it steadies your heart, into your hands, where it tingles like new possibility, into your bond with Leora, where it glows like a lantern finally, fully lit. Leora steps closer, pressing her forehead gently against yours. For a moment, you feel her thoughts as clear as your own. Not just words, but emotions. Joy, steadiness, playfulness. That stubborn streak that makes her nudge ribbons onto tables and insist on dancing. You laugh softly through tears, whispering, "I can hear you." And she hums back, "I can hear you too." The elder lifts her hands. The fairy moon has blessed your bond. Wherever you walk, waking or dreaming, laughing or resting, you carry its light. May it guide you always, and may you always remember tonight. The light begins to fade, the river drawing itself back into the moon. The runes dim, the stones settle, but the glow in your chest remains, warm and steady, as though a part of the moon has chosen to stay. The fairies bow once more, then slowly drift away into the mist, leaving you and Leora alone upon the hill. The silence is soft, full, content. You glance upward at the moon, now slipping lower, almost touching the horizon. Its final beams brush your face like a gentle hand, then dissolve into the first hints of dawn. You lean against Leora, her warmth steady, her sparks now dimmed to a soft glow, like embers ready to rest. You whisper, "We did it. We walked the whole night." She lowers her head against your shoulder, and together you watch the sky pale. The world feels new, not different in shape, but different in you, brighter, steadier, fuller of light. You carry the fairy moon now, not above you, but within you, and as dawn breaks, you close your eyes, letting the glow carry you gently toward rest, knowing this night will live forever in the quiet, golden places of your heart. The night has ended, dear dreamer, and your journey with Leora beneath the fairy moon has come to rest. The lanterns have floated to the stars, the songs have faded into memory, and the vows whispered beneath the blessing tree now glow quietly in your chest. As you lie here, listening to your own breath, imagine the softness of the moss beneath your feet, the shimmer of petals drifting slowly around you, the hum of a unicorn's steady crown beside you. Each image settles like a blanket, warm and soothing, reminding you that you are always carried, always cradled, always safe. The fairy moon has dipped below the horizon, but it has not left you. Its light lingers, tucked into your heart like a secret lantern, one that never flickers out. In quiet moments, you can still feel it. The gentle pull of laughter shared, the memory of a song sung with others, the weight of promises made in love. Let your body grow heavy now, sinking deeper into the comfort of your bed. Let your thoughts drift like blossoms on a breeze, unhurried, unbound. Each breath draws you further into stillness. Each exhale releases the last clinging edges of the day. You are safe. You are loved. You are held in the glow of all you've seen tonight. And as your eyes grow heavy, may your dreams carry you gently back into the meadows, the libraries, the dances, and the streams, where unicorns wait, and the fairy moon still watches, smiling softly. Good night, dear one. Sleep well. Sweet dreams.